What's up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Get ready to duck and cover. Natural disaster simulations are being carried out across Taiwan. As part of Taiwan's annual Disaster Prevention Day, people are getting phone alerts and holding evacuation drills. Coastal areas will also receive test tsunami alerts. President Tsai Ing-wen has told the public not to panic.
当重大灾害发生的时候，我们会透过全面切换电视频道以及广播电台的插播机制，来发送紧急应变的讯息。
Do you know what to do if disaster strikes? The National Disaster Prevention Day falls on September the 21st, which marks one of Taiwan's deadliest earthquakes. To see how the country is working to keep its citizens safe, Sally Jensen went to an expo in Taipei, which shows people how to survive in the event of a catastrophe.
Fighting fires, rescuing casualties, and knowing where to hide in case of an earthquake. People here are getting prepared in case of a disaster. It's all part of National Disaster Prevention Day, which is held every year, and people are eager to brush up on their survival skills.
因为台湾有很多地震啊、台风啊、火灾啊，所以就是希望能够有安全的知识，在遇到紧急状况的之后，可以知道如何应变。
平常可能如果万一遇到的时候，至少我们会知道该怎么预防。
For the country's rescue workers, it's a chance to demonstrate the work they do.
那这边是属于就是我们当初去土耳其的时候的一些在现场做的一些处置和作为。
The event commemorates the 1999 Jiji earthquake, which killed almost 2,500 people. Taiwan sits on a seismic fault, making it vulnerable to tremors. And many of its buildings, which were built decades ago, are in poor structural condition. Now there are efforts to strengthen the youngest generation's resilience in case of the worst.
希望能够让我们的孩子在生活当中随时随地都能够帮助他人。
Children are the target audience for disaster prevention, as heat waves, floods, and other extreme weather caused by the climate crisis are on the rise.
The extreme events that can happen, that can be extremely dangerous. Even now, it's happening in many places in the world, but also in the future, in 20, 30, 40 years, it's going to be much impactful than it is right now.
其实我感觉从了解这个部分，我们更应该去深入到说它对整个社会的冲击，因为社会冲击让我们更了解到说这个议题我们不能够去忽视它。
Despite the upbeat atmosphere at this event, it's hoped that participants will take these threats seriously.
National Disaster Preparedness Day is an occasion to reflect on the tragedy that struck Taiwan 24 years ago. But looking to the future is an important way to equip Taiwanese people with the resources and the know-how to survive any calamity. John Su and Sally Jensen in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's military is preparing to open one of its bases to the public to showcase some of the systems used to defend the country. Our reporter Jaime Ocon is there.
Taiwan's military is getting ready to open one of its largest army bases to the public here in Hsinchu County. Now, for one day only, the army will showcase some of its most high-profile systems, like helicopters, tanks, and armored vehicles. This kind of event hasn't happened in almost 9 years, and military officials here say that they expect to have at least 100,000 visitors to come on Saturday. Now, for the opening ceremony, they rehearsed flyovers with fighter jets, helicopters, and even conducted a mock rehearsal of how Taiwan would push back an enemy force. Taiwan's military has been trying to modernize its armed forces, and that's why a lot of the equipment on display is from the country's largest weapons provider, the U.S. Taiwan's military says that this event is part of an effort to showcase its modernization efforts and teach the public about what goes into national defense. John Su and Jaime Ocon in Hsinchu County for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has added 2 new ships to its growing number of Coast Guard vessels. Rick Lowett reports.
Here at one of the largest ports on Taiwan's north coast, the country's Coast Guard is launching 2 new domestically produced Coast Guard vessels as it beefs up its fleet in response to the China threat. Taiwan is adding more than 100 new vessels to its Coast Guard fleet over the next few years. It's part of defence reforms aimed to counter China, which says Taiwan is part of its territory. These vessels will be tasked with responding to what's called China's grey zone warfare tactics. They'll be confronting fishing vessels and sand dredgers that are increasingly operating illegally in Taiwan's waters. So Taiwan has shown its determination to defend its freedom with record defence spending and new equipment like this. These vessels will be on the front line of that fight against China. Howard Zhang and Rick Lowett in Geelong for TaiwanPlus.
Foxconn founder Terry Gou is gathering signatures to get on the ballot for January's presidential election. Independent candidates for president in Taiwan need to prove they have enough support to be in the race. That's measured in signatures from eligible voters. Gou has until November the 2nd to get nearly 300,000 signatures. If he reaches that goal, he'll face off against 3 other candidates. Earlier this year, France passed a law that, for the first time, committed Paris to defending freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific, including the Taiwan Strait. I spoke with the French senator who pushed for that inclusion. Olivier Cadic, the vice president of the French Senate's Permanent Committee on Foreign Affairs and Defense Issues, has been visiting Taiwan's outlying islands of Penghu, as well as Taipei. As you say, you went to the Pescadores, Penghu, and you said you wanted to speak to the people there. What did you say to them?
It was important, I think, to explain to them maybe we are far away in Europe from Taiwan Strait. But I thought it was really important to let them know that it's not because we are far that we don't think about them. We can't accept that an international place is turned as a Chinese place just because they decide it. They have to respect international law, even China. So, too many times, people are afraid to, I would say, give the impression that they may hurt China.
What you say about standing up to China will be music to the Taiwan government's ears. But how much support is there in France and the European Union for standing up to China?
2 years ago, when you looked at the number of senators who were in French-China friendship group, there were 42 2 years ago. French-Taiwan, we were 20. How many are we 2 years later? 42. 42, 42. We renew half of Senate this Sunday. We'll see how many will be with the next Senate.
France, though, has a good trading relationship with China. And we saw what happened to Lithuania, for example, when it decided to have closer relations with Taiwan. China cut off trade, it downgraded its diplomatic relationship with Lithuania. How worried are you about China's reaction?
Last May, President Macron talked to French people about choose France to get investment, foreign investment in France. The first company mentioned was Prologium, Taiwanese company, who decided to invest 5.5 billion euros in France. This unique investment from Prologium is exactly 50% of all Chinese investment in France since 25 years. You know, I think that China needs more Europe than Europe needs China. We don't have to be afraid of China.
Taiwan's export orders have now shrunk for 12 straight months. The Economy Ministry says August numbers were down 16% on the same month last year to $46 billion. It says weakening demands for electronic and communications products are behind the drop, as high inflation and interest rates hit consumers. But orders from the optoelectronics industry were an exception, growing at 2.5% year-on-year. The ministry expects the overall decline will continue in September. Train drivers have called off protests that could have disrupted travel over 2 holidays. The drivers' union is concerned about plans to turn the state-owned railway company into a corporation next year, which could lead to benefit cuts. But plans to strike during the upcoming Mid-Autumn Festival and National Day long weekends have been scrapped after talks with the Transport Minister. He's agreed they won't have to work overtime during the holidays. The union says it still has other demands ahead of a switch to a corporation, and that it will protest in the future if those aren't met. This year's Asian Games has a new event, breakdancing, and Taiwan's top breakdancer is getting ready for the competition. Harel Hughes tells us more.
The moves speak for themselves. Breakdancing started in the United States and is now popular around the globe. And for the first time, it will be an official event at the Asian Games.
其实 breaking 的本质就有点像是我们用肢体语言在做辩论，所以我们要怎么样辩赢对方。那很重要的一个点就是，在观众跟大家看来，你是不是比较受瞩目？
This is Taiwan's competitor, Sun Jian, also known as Quake. He is ranked first in Taiwan, 16th in the world, and is a 2-time champion of BC1 Taiwan. That's a national qualifier for an international tournament.
他应该在国际上就是大家会觉得很有爆发力，然后也是动作很有原创力。
Each round of the competition is a one-on-one, head-to-head showdown. Scoring is based on 6 elements: skill, performance, creativity, diversity, musicality, and personality. The music is created on the spot by a DJ. But for the dancers, there are ways to prepare.
我的拿手招式应该是单手的东西，像我以前花很多时间在练一个叫抛的动作，就是以前大家说的大风车，我都会把它做成单手，然后再加上一点自己想的变化，这样。
The stakes are high. Gold medal athletes for certain events at the Asian Games automatically qualify for the Olympics. For Sun, he only needs to live up to his name to make his competitors quake. Alex Chen and Harel Hughes for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan is home to hundreds of butterfly species, and one avid collector has caught almost all of them. Eric Gao takes a look.
Taiwan has over 400 different butterfly species. That diversity has earned it a nickname, the Kingdom of Butterflies. And this man, Professor Xu Yufeng, has dedicated his life to studying them. The beautiful bugs have fascinated him since middle school, and he's spent decades capturing and cataloging them. Xu has collected almost all the species found in Taiwan, including these golden birdwings and the Papilio hoppo swallowtail, which is only found here. He's also discovered and named 10 butterfly species.
特别就只有在梅雨季出现，所以当初要做它的调查，感觉要跟太阳赛跑。对啊，所以最后要命名的时候，我就决定说，因为在追太阳嘛，所以就决定把它命名叫做夸父。
Catching a new specimen and preparing it for display is a careful process. The legs are taken off and preserved for DNA. The body is delicately positioned to display the wings, and a tag is added listing the time and place it was collected. One of his main concerns is making sure there's no moisture in the butterfly.
它没有干透，那你刚拿下来的时候看起来很好，可是湿气就还在的话，过不久就会变形。
Aside from his Taiwan butterflies, Professor Xu has also collected specimens from other countries, but he has no plans to stop until his domestic collection is complete. Howard Zahn and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally today, we leave you with images of rhinos at the world's largest white rhino farm in South Africa. I'm Louise Watt. Take care, and we'll see you next time.